Call on Government Order of the Day number 1.
Charities Amendment Bill interrupted debate on second reading.
Members, when we were last debating the second reading of the Charities Amendment Bill, Chris Farfoy had the call and has 9 minutes and 30 seconds remaining if he wishes. I call Ian McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It gives me a pleasure to take a short call on the second reading of the Charities Amendment Bill. A bill that's equally as short as the contribution I'm going to make. But I do remember 2005 when this bill was first, or the Charities Amendment, or the Charities Bill was first brought to Parliament, and I remember I guess the disquiet that occurred in our communities around what might or might not happen to our, I guess, thousands of charities that operate in all sorts of sectors in our communities. And I remember at the time the DIA, I guess it would have been, put out a whole lot of people, or put a lot of people out into the communities, giving advice to those charities and charitable organisations and the people concerned with them on how they might or might not comply with the legislation and what that legislation might mean for them. And I think you'd have to say, Mr Speaker, that there's been no or very little negative impact from that legislation. So this bill, or this amendment bill, has really just been brought to Parliament to make some very simple changes, but quite important ones, because in an odd way, I guess one of the clauses in this bill stops, I suppose, someone convicted of tax evasion or someone who's perhaps not suitable to be operating a charity from being an officer in those charitable organisations, and that's obviously clearly very sensible. It also provides that an application for registration as a charitable entity can be treated as withdrawn if the applicant does not respond to questions, and that was an issue that certainly caused some challenges in the early days of the re-registration of thousands of charities throughout New Zealand, because many of the officers of those organisations struggled, frankly, with having to comply with stuff they'd never had to comply with before, and you can see why that's been brought to bear in this. And finally, is to correct a 2012 drafting error, something that doesn't happen very often in this House. So, Mr Speaker, with that short contribution, I'll sit down.
Okay.